Hello, and this is the introduction to a new personal vlog YouTube thing that I'm doing. It's called DJ Project Breaks Bad, and this is a series of vlog episodes that are chronicling my um, discovery of the series Breaking Bad. Now, I guess to answer the first question, you mean you haven't seen Breaking Bad this whole time? Well, the big thing is with me, I do not own a television, let alone a cable package. So any way that the show had aired, I was not a part of in the first wave. And typically, if there's a show that I like, I usually wait for a while, usually after a series is over, so then I can do an archive binge and just watch the whole thing. But the other is that I'm very selective as far as what television shows, especially since there are a lot of shows out now and there's a lot of shows that people talk about. I'm very selective about what I want, especially if I'm going to be spending a lot of time on a show, and particularly for this one, it's going to be about 62 hours or so of my time, and I want to make sure that it's worth it. And now, in spite of me not knowing, sorry, in spite of me not having seen the show, I definitely know of the show's existence. I know some of the various little memes and details that have been coming about. I definitely know the basic premise of what it is, just in very general terms. I even know how it's kind of going to end, even though I won't know, even though I don't know the steps leading up to it, but I know its inevitable conclusion. And then the other big thing, which is why I wanted to make sure that I went on my way to see the show, is all the attention it's received. It's been hailed as perhaps one of the best television shows certainly of recent memory. And it's the kind of show where people just love paying attention to the details, whether it be the writing, the performances, the production quality. And so if I was going to be spending time on a show, this would be the one to do. And so, and actually, because it's actually available now, you have the complete series, which is now in a much more practical packaging. I know about the limited edition that comes in a barrel. So if you wanted to get the whole series and not having to deal with the barrel full of not only the blue, and it was a Blu-ray edition too, but not only full of discs but also full of little trinkets. There you go. And also, this is going to be and for the first time, the complete series is going to be available on DVD as well. But I got the Blu-ray, so that's what I'm going to be spending my time doing. So I'm going to do an episode after I complete a season. Is going to be the format, and this is going to be. I'm not going to spend too much time on summarizing it because, one, it seems like everybody and their grandmother has seen this show, and so I'm not going to waste my time so much on that. And then the other is that there are plenty of avenues to look for synopsis. This is going to be more about my impressions, which is actually the reason why I want to do this, is because since I'm coming at the show with completely fresh eyes, it'd be interesting to kind of give my thoughts on the show from someone who has never seen the show himself and is going to plow through the entire show pretty much all in one go. So instead of having 5 or 6 years or so watching the show as it's gradually airing, I'm now coming at this long a while since it's been done. I think the last episode aired late, like towards the end of last year. To watch the entire show from beginning to end, and it's just a different way of approaching it. And because you're different in your approach, you will start to, I think, notice some things than you were if you were to see, especially since you're seeing this episodes pretty much back to back. You don't have the week lag time or the months lag time between either episodes or between seasons uh, to process on. Now it's just all kind of coming in one go. So again, this is going to be more of my thoughts and impressions of the show. Um, so I'm actually looking forward to this, and I guess I'll conclude with um, sort of what. And so I'm going to do well. I'm going to do an episode at the end of each season, and then I'm going to do a final one, kind of providing sort of a recap or to bring everything all together, as well as talking about sort of what my impressions are overall, like what I think of the show after watching it. But so I'm going to conclude this episode with some of my thoughts of what I expect going in. So in that way, when you get to the final episode, it would be sort of a compare and contrast. What I thought about going into the show versus what I thought about now after seeing it in its entirety. I think at this point, because I knew the reputation that the show has, I have very high expectations. I expect nothing less than excellent writing, excellent performances, excellent character arcs, the opportunity to talk about various themes, and I expect a certain quality. In fact, I've been told that, or I've certainly read that it's the kind of show where if you are somebody who likes to watch films, which is another reason why I don't get into television all that much, if you like watching films, you'll certainly like watching this show because the quality is more in line with cinema. It does a lot of things that you would expect more for films than you do on television. So I have very, very high expectations, and I have a feeling that they will be met. But I think the one thing that I'm really interested in seeing is because I've seen a few shows where you have Machiavellian type characters, and I know that Walter White is the kind of guy who is willing to use any means necessary to get what he wants. In fact, the only reason why he does what he does is because he has this terminal illness, and which I know is lung cancer, and he wants to provide for his family. So what's the way to do it? Oh, he knows chemistry. He knows that there's, and I know it's set in Albuquerque, and so why not take advantage of what you have and what you know, and maybe even do this. So he's definitely a guy that's willing to use whatever means are necessary. He's willing to do despicable things, but I also get the impression that he's doing it for, one, he's doing it for noble intentions, and two, he feels justified in doing it because he has noble intentions. And this reminds me, of course, of The Godfather, and particularly Michael Corleone, and also Vito Corleone as well. Like father, like son, think about it. Where they are, the mission is it's always for them. It's about providing for their family, and so it justifies whatever actions they do because they're doing this they're doing this for a higher calling. This, of course, makes them. You're not really sure if the morality is really sound in this. How can you say this one thing, but you're willing to deprive somebody else of life? And it all depends on how you value things and such. But anyways, my interest is that it's something that has been explored before. That notion of that Machiavellian sense, or that belief that you can employ whatever means are necessary to obtain what you want. I've certainly seen this in films like The Godfather, and I've even seen this in other television programs. The one that really comes to mind is the original BBC House of Cards. And actually, Francis Urquhart owes a lot to Richard III. Shakespearean character, not historical figure. But anyways, so it's one of those things where I'm really curious to see how they pull it off and to make it interesting, because it's the kind of thing where it's been done before, and I'm really interested in seeing how those moral quandaries, those moral complexities play out in the in the characters. And I have no doubt that Bryan Cranston as Walter White will be able to pull it off. Um, and I even have a suspicion that the characters around him would support in that, and which is why it's been praised for its writing and performances all around. And I mean, Bryan Cranston is singled out. I think it's just because his character is really compelling. But the point is that I'm hoping that I'm hoping to be surprised on how everything is played out, and not going through some predictability of like, for instance, you have a string of bad actions, and then all of a sudden you have this one thing that just goes, oh, the character's not all that bad. I hope it doesn't go that to that kind of level, but I have a suspicion it's going to be handled very, very well. So I'm coming into this with very high expectations, but I have a strong feeling that those expectations will be met. I mean, when you have a very gushing letter from Sir Anthony Hopkins to Bryan Cranston about his performance overall as Walter White, it's easy to come into it with high expectations, but it's also easy to have the sense that your expectations will be fulfilled. So now I get to see the show for myself, and I'll get to know all the different details about what goes on. So I guess my final thing is, I mentioned that I knew this is set in Albuquerque, and I'm also looking forward to seeing Albuquerque again, because for a time I actually did live there for a few years. It's been a long time since I've been there. It's been almost... This tells you how old I am. I haven't been in Albuquerque for almost 25 years. That's how old I am. Obviously, I was there as a kid. So I can imagine a lot of things have changed, but at the same time, like with any place that you remember and you go into, there's some aspects of it that still linger and they still seem very familiar. So I'll be very interested to see how Albuquerque looks, and so it'll be kind of a nice little reunion. So all in all, I'm looking forward to seeing the series in its entirety, and then also sharing my thoughts as they come along. So hopefully you'll join me and join me along for the ride. So time to break bad, or time to cook. And until next time, take care.